Hi, I'm Natalie Bouchard, and you're listening to Inside NC Labor, a podcast designed to inform and educate North Carolina citizens on the role that the Department of Labor plays in state government. Hi, y'all. I'm Natalie Bouchard with the North Carolina Department of Labor.
Hey everybody, this is Mary Catherine Revels with the Department of Labor, and we're here today in Cherokee at the Mine Safety and Health Conference, and we're just going to go around the table here because we have a lot of wonderful people with us today.
Hi, I'm Commissioner of Labor, Cherie Berry.
I'm Jay Stem with the North Carolina Agriculture Association. I'm the Executive Director for the association.
I'm William Geringer. I'm the Bureau Chief of the Mine and Quarry Bureau under the North Carolina Department of Labor.
I'm Sam Pierce. I'm with Mine Safety and Health Administration. I'm the Southeast District Manager.
I'm Brian Moore with Vulcan Materials Company, Safety and Health Manager and the Safety Committee Chairman for the NC Ag Association.
Wonderful. So this episode is kind of special because the podcast is called Inside NC Labor, and for the first time we have some people that are a little bit outside of NC Labor. But we all have a special relationship and collaboration that happens when it comes to mine and quarry safety and health. My first question is, can you tell us, anyone, you can go one at a time or someone can answer for the group, just the significance of this event?
It's basically a bringing together of the industry to get together and people outside of our association. It's a statewide event that we have that brings the mining industry together to actually share ideas, concepts, rules, regulations, updates along those lines with everybody, because we just don't want to have that for our association. We want to share that because if it doesn't matter who's getting this information, if we want the whole industry to be safe. If somebody gets injured, it's a black eye on the entire industry, not just on our association. We want everybody to be safe, and we have had MSHA up here as part of this, as long as I can remember now, come and share information, and I think that's why you see such a large attendance, is because of that. This is the largest attendance for our safety committee meeting ever, and the attendance for the conference tomorrow is a record attendance. I think we had over 140, 150 people attending. It's rivaling what our annual convention is.
It really gives operations that may not have the exposure to Commissioner Berry, to Sam with MSHA, even to William, at times an audience and an opportunity to ask questions that they may not have always got to ask, in person. And it's a great learning opportunity that, we're fortunate to be able to put on every year.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this year, I'm very excited about our program. Again, with a joint effort with all of us, I feel like we've got some very interesting topics and the speakers to go with those topics. For the first time in a very long time, we got a presentation set up for tire safety. We've got some industry folks here that's going to talk about silica. Of course, Sam Pierce here is going to give us a Southeast District update, with what's going on in our district, relevant to mine safety and health. And bottom line to me, we're all about enhancing safety and health, whether you're in mining, construction, whatever the case may be. And to me, the takeaway is certainly a win-win.
Can I add one other comment too? This is probably the 7th or 8th, 9th one we've had back as a joint group. Back during the recession, we had to basically cancel conferences and conventions, and we had one in the east and one in the west, and you didn't get everybody together. That's right. And there was a lot of outcry about, let's get this thing back to having a 2-day conference with everybody in the same room so everybody can hear Sam speak and share ideas, because it doesn't matter whether you're in the east or the west. Safety is safety, and the guys like to get together, share that information, and it helps everybody across the state. So that's something that's made this thing very positive and made it a big event, because the guys want to get together to share that information.
Right. Record attendance, I think that's something to be celebrated. That shows that people care all across the state.
Oh, it also gave me a chance as Commissioner of Labor to say thank you to Sam and the folks at MSHA for getting us our state grant so early. First time in my term, 19 years that's happened, and I'm so grateful for that. What a big change in that whole operation in Washington. So I'm very, very happy about that.
My next question is, each of you plays a very important role in assuring the safety and health in the industry, and can you elaborate on each of your entities' roles in the industry and how specifically you work together?
Well, I'll start off because we do the training of the people on the mine sites, and we have a very small bureau that does that work, but I call them the little engine that could, because they're just 3 trainers, and William and Marcy. So last year we did almost 4,500 people that we actually trained. We did 131 on-site training programs, and we conducted 4 Part 48 instructor classes, and that means we certified 35 people as MSHA approved instructors, so that's helpful to us too. But the thing I'm proudest of with the mining industry in North Carolina is their injury and illness rate, which is 1.69 per 100 full-time workers, a lot lower than general industry is in North Carolina. So these folks are terrific.
I can speak from an association standpoint that the reason our association is so successful is because of the people we have that make up the association. And our Safety and Health Committee is probably one of the most active ones around. It's probably one of the better ones in the country as well. That Safety and Health Committee and our members is what's helped make us have a good relationship with MSHA. The other thing that I talk about, and I tell everybody about this, is the Mining Quarry Bureau is the quintessential way that government is supposed to work. They're part of our safety committee. William's on our safety committee. Emails that we send out dealing with safety, he gets those. You know, it's not, well, he's a government agency, we can't share that with him. He gets the minutes, we share everything with him. We want feedback from him. It's the way a government agency is supposed to work. And when they were looking at cutting funding to the Mining Corps Bureau a few years ago with the General Assembly, the budget, we went and spoke and told the legislature, this is the way, this is the model of how an agency should work with industry. It just happens to be their work dealing with safety, but it's the model that could work with anything. So, but the reason our association is so successful is because we have companies and members that are very committed to making it successful.
Our role with the Mining Quarry Bureau obviously is to provide the mandated training that people have to work on mine sites, including contractors. We do a tremendous amount of contractor training. We provide new miner, we provide the annual refresher classes, the first aid, CPR, AED training, but we also take that a step further. We offer some what we call special emphasis projects. Commissioner Berry mentioned the instructor classes that we conduct. We also do, we call it a mine safety and health law school, but it's really geared towards supervisory training and supervisory responsibilities and accountabilities and liabilities and things of that nature, and very, very popular course that we do here in North Carolina a couple times a year. And so, you know, you put all that together along with assisting operations with our safety and health programs. Our motto is there's absolutely nothing out there worth getting hurt over. We're going to do everything that we can within reason to help prevent that from happening. Again, with joint efforts, the NC Aggregates, MSHA, the entire industry.
Well, my role as the district manager for the Southeast for the Mine Safety and Health Administration is to oversee the inspections of mining in the state of North Carolina. I have 8 states in Puerto Rico in the Southeast District. North Carolina is just one of them. We're mandated by Congress to do those inspections. Part of that is making sure people are in compliance, but our main charge by the Mine Act is protecting safety and health of the miner, and that's first and foremost. And by working with, like this association here, as Jay says, is one of the better associations in the country. I have 6 out of my 8 states have associations, and this is probably one of the top 2, if not the top. And it's evident by the people who turn out today that you see they truly care. They want to learn, and they want to try to make sure they're doing the right thing to protect their employees. And so that's what we do. We oversee the compliance part of it, but also we work with the groups, the miners, the mine operators, the associations, everybody, to make sure everybody understands and goes home at the end of the day the same way they come to work.
And I guess I have to answer from a little different perspective with the 4 previous being government employees. But it was actually surprised most my angle. About 19 years ago, William was my supervisor, and ultimately Commissioner Berry was my ultimate boss in the end. And the Mining Quarry Bureau provided a 3-year training ground for me that has really, allowed me in an 18-year career with Vulcan Materials and working with the Ag Association as a committee chairman on and off for many years as well. The ability to sort of be well-rounded and have a lot of different experiences and have a lot of folks that I can call on. I still call on William all the time, and Sam as the district manager for MSHA. He's invaluable, to be able to call and at a meeting like this, just to pull off to the side and say, hey, give me your opinion, on these things. And William and Jay and Sam do a big service to the the industry in general, from that perspective. So, as a company, we benefit from these relationships and hold in the sort of the symbiotic relationship that the association allows the government agencies to be a part of is important to every operation that it touches. So a very positive thing overall.
Wonderful. It's definitely special, and it's effective, as we can see by the numbers. And when we talk about the training that specifically we do at the Department of Labor, I know there's an example, Commissioner, there's an example that I've heard you talk about with a CPR training with a mining quarry employee.
Oh, yeah. He worked for a company here in western North Carolina, and he was on his way to work one morning, and he took a different route, just turned a different way. He didn't really know why he chose to do that, but he did. And he had CPR training from our bureau. And as he went this different route, he came around a curve and saw a lot of traffic stopped and noticed there had been an accident. So he got out and went down to the accident scene. And when he got there, a lady was screaming, "Does anybody know CPR? Does anybody know CPR?" And he did, and he said, "I'd just been trained, but I knew how to do it." So I went with her down to her car, and her 13-year-old son was in the car, but he was unconscious, and he wasn't breathing. So they got him out, and he performed CPR, and he got to go home to Alabama with his mama because of that, after being in the hospital here.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So he saved a life on the way to work because
Right.
of it.
21 years ago, I taught a class in CPR, first aid, and had a little fellow that he was getting on in age, had a hard time doing CPR on the mannequin and doing it correctly. And I think I made him do it 8 times before I passed him. And about 6 months later, he showed back up while I was there doing a training and told me a story very similar to that. It didn't have the same outcome, but he was on his way home from church, and he basically saw a lady stand on the side of the road, panicked. He stopped. His wife was with him. She called 911. This little guy drug a much bigger man out of the vehicle. He was blue, when he got him out of the vehicle. And the paramedics finally showed up, and he had been doing CPR from the time, he got him out. And when they took him off in the ambulance, one of the ambulance paramedics told him, "Man, you did a great job. He's got a chance."
Uh-huh.
And the guy did survive several days, and the widow came back later. It just had too much damage to fix, and thanked him for giving him the opportunity to get to the hospital. And those are the stories in safety that that folks remember forever. And that was one of those that sort of gave me the passion to make sure you do the right thing, and carrying that over into general industry now is those are things that really stick with you forever.
And I think it's so important that what you learn in general industry or mining or wherever, that you take that home with you and practice it in your neighborhood and encourage other people to practice it too, because it just spreads out in concentric circles. And then everybody's safe if we all do that.
Absolutely. Thank you for those stories. I just have one final question. If the attendees that were here today, they remember one thing or learned one thing about safety and health in the mining industry, what do you hope that they take home?
I don't know if there's one thing, one specific nugget to carry back about safety, but to make them understand that if you don't know the answer, there's resources in this room to reach out. Don't be scared to reach out to the association or to another company, Brian is the chair, or another member, that's that of the association that you feel comfortable with, or Sam's got that open door, be willing to reach out. It's like Brian said, we're not here, and when it comes to antitrust, that deals with other things. Safety, we want everybody to know everything. There's no secrets. We want to share everything because that secret might save somebody's life. It's a family, and we want to make sure everybody's safe and everybody goes home. And if you don't know, pick up the phone, email, text somebody. That's why we have these big email lists, and everybody, all our members have pretty much everybody's email, so they can reach out and contact each other. And like I said, and we want to thank MSHA and the Mining Quarry Bureau as being another resource as well.
Wonderful.
And I think it's important to hear what Jay had to say at the beginning, how it's a partnership between all of us, and that's how government and the private sector should work together. And I'm so thankful to Sam for that MSHA relationship we have and with the association, because that's how you have strength when you're in numbers and everybody trusts each other and respects each other for the jobs we're trying to do. And I wish all the people in the workplaces across North Carolina would realize, whether they're in mining or wherever they are, that there's something that we can offer, the association can offer to people, Washington can offer to people. And Sam's down here, and we're glad to have him with us. So that's what I would like for people to take away.
Something is also that we built that trust.
Yes.
It takes time to build it, and we've got it built with all of us around this table in the association.
Yeah.
And I say, I always tell people, we share the good, bad, and the ugly.
Right.
We can talk about we lay everything on the table to figure out how to get to the best answer. Not hold your cards close to your vest and not share everything. Share it all, and that's the way you get your best outcomes.
I had a guy, when I was an inspector, just starting out with a mine safety and health. I showed up to do an inspection at his mine site, and he said, I started to call you last week. I had an issue, but I was afraid you'd come out and write me a citation. It stayed with me my whole career because I said, look, we need to correct the situation before somebody gets hurt or killed. It's not worth a piece of paper. That piece of paper ain't gonna save his life, but what the actions they take. And to me, these meetings, people coming and hearing what everybody has to say, and they see that we're not enemies. We're all here working to help them save and protect their miners. I think that goes a long way for us. It's building blocks, like Jay said. We've had to work. We ain't always had that over here. We all know the reasons, but it hadn't always been that way. But it should never not go back that way.
Right.
It should always be a group effort because we all have the same goal, and that's for everybody to go home every day.
And there's been a lot of times that, we'll invite Sam and his people out to see things that we're doing, as a company, that it might give us a competitive advantage over, some companies because we're a little more efficient. But when it comes to safety and health, we don't mind sharing those things because we know if Sam sees it and he gets the opportunity to say, hey, I saw this, and it saves somebody from getting injured handling a guard, or, knowing that there's a different tool to do a job, that's something you just can't replace. And sharing that knowledge is really what this conference and the folks that are on this panel are really about, ultimately, is doing the right thing. And there's not too many parts of business that you can be that way.
Right.
This is sort of a special industry when it comes to the safety side of things.
I'd like to add one other thing. You mentioned triggered that with Sam and with you is when MSHA is updating standards and looking at policies. Now, over the years, they've built that trust with us, and they reach out to industry now, and that's basically because of Sam and Brian, and they send that information out to industry to make sure when a policy or a guarding PowerPoint's coming out to talk about a certain thing, that they get industry input so it is the best that it can be. And that's a big collaboration, and that's taken years to get there, but we're there. And we're not the only association. There's several other good associations out there as well in Kentucky and some of the other states that they'll reach out to get feedback. But that's that government agency, the industry working together. And that's something that's come out in the last few years.
People sitting in Raleigh or Washington, who are writing the rules to implement the statutes that are passed, can't possibly know what they need to write unless they've seen the operations or spent a lot of time talking to the industry involved in the regulations they're trying to write. So you got to have boots on the ground. You got to be out there with everybody, talking to them all the time to be the very best you can be, since those people are paying our salaries as their representatives in government, and you can't do it sitting behind the desk.
And probably one of the smallest departments within the Department of Labor has facilitated, this conference has been going on a long time, and it has facilitated a lot of the conversations and a lot of the ability to get in front of the government folks that we need to develop those relationships to get where we are today. So, just because it's a small department doesn't mean
Right.
it can't have a huge impact, in the industry in general. And mine and Corey surely has.
And I'd like to say, I agree with everything that, my colleagues here have mentioned. By the way, this is our 42nd North Carolina Mine Safety and Health Conference. If there was a little nugget out there that I took away, and I heard Sam and Brian over here both mention it, would be concerns with power haulage. And, maybe going back and looking at, some of our operating methods when it comes to mobile equipment, like that. Obviously, there appears to be a little bit of a trend there with, some hiccups there with the big equipment, the stuff that it's hard to see out of, and, going back, looking at the backup cameras and your horns and your alarms and all that. And that might be something me personally would go back and make sure I focus on that too as part of my training that I would go out there and implement. To me, that was that little nugget. That was a takeaway for me today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you folks, caring enough about our department and our industry, to come up and help make this happen. And this is obviously, in my opinion, a very good way of getting some exposure out there to our industry and what we're doing to enhance. All of us, MSHA, Commissioner Berry, industry with Brian and Vulcan Materials, and of course the N.C. Aggregates Association, doing all that we can, again, within reason to enhance safety and health to where our folks can all go home at the end of the day, the night, whatever shift they may be working.
And somebody may see this and hear what everybody's had to say about the doors are open, the people you can contact if they have a question. We'd rather the question come before somebody does get hurt or
That's right.
seriously injured or killed. A phone call, an email, there's lots of ways, and we try to make sure that everybody knows those ways, and this is just another tool. So hopefully somebody may see this and say, hey, you know what, I got a question, I want to call that person. So thank you.
Thank you. You guys, I think, are all a wonderful resource and provide a great service for workers all across North Carolina and the industry in general. So thank you for sitting down and taking time to talk with us.
It's our pleasure.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. Remember, your safety is our priority.